What's it actually like living in Summerville, South Carolina? Here's the short answer. The most house for your money anywhere near Charleston, top rated schools, a real historic downtown, and more housing variety than any town in this metro. New construction, century old homes, big lots, 55 plus communities, all of it in one town, 30 to 40 minutes from downtown Charleston. But Summerville is missing one thing. And for a certain kind of buyer, that one thing cancels out everything I just said. I'll tell you exactly what it is and whether you're that buyer before this video ends. I'm Justine Manuel. I help people move to the Charleston area every week, and Summerville comes up in almost every conversation. So let's break it down properly. Summerville sits about 25 miles northwest of downtown Charleston up I-26. Locals call it Flower Town in the Pines. The whole town sits in pine forest and azaleas, and every spring the Flower Town Festival fills the streets. It's also the official birthplace of sweet tea. This town wears its southern credentials proudly. The commute, let me give it to you straight. Downtown Charleston is 30 to 40 minutes in normal traffic and way more during rush hour. I-26 definitely has its moments. If you drive downtown 5 days a week at peak times, that's a real commute. You're looking at maybe over an hour, and you should definitely drive it before you buy it. But if you're remote, hybrid, or you work locally, the commute mostly stops mattering. And honestly, most of the buyers I bring out here are in that second group. Now, here's what makes Summerville different from every other town in the metro. And it's the reason I can bring almost any buyer here and find the right fit for them. Most towns around Charleston do one thing. Mount Pleasant does polished suburban, downtown does historic, but Summerville does everything. Let me show you what I mean. Historic homes and a real downtown. Summerville's historic district is the real thing. Homes over a century-year old on azalea-lined streets and a walkable downtown with local shops, restaurants, and a farmer's market. If you want a front porch with history, you don't need the Charleston Peninsula to get it. The historic district homes generally run from the high 400,000s into the 600,000s, which is a fraction of what that character costs in downtown Charleston. We've also got master plan communities up in Summerville, like Nexton, Cane Bay, Summers Corner, and Carnes Crossroads. Some of the most successful master plan communities in the Southeast. They've got pools, trails, parks, shops built right in. Nexton runs roughly 460,000 to 580,000, while Cane Bay is around 420,000 to 520,000. If you want new and low maintenance with amenities, this area has the deepest inventory in the Charleston area. We've also got 55 plus communities. Summerville has dedicated, gated, resort-style communities built for active adults 55 and up. If you're retiring to the Charleston area and the coastal price tags made you close the laptop, this is where I take you. And I'll tell you, my retiree buyers out here end up some of the happiest clients I've had. We've also got land, lots, and pretty much everything in between. And if you want space, trees, a big lot, a rural edge of town in the outskirts of Summerville, it exists. The established neighborhoods start in the low 300,000s, and you have your option of small lots or large lots, old construction, new construction. The range is the whole point. Quick notes on price, because if you've Googled Summerville, you've seen numbers all over the place. The median sits somewhere between the mid 300,000s to the high 400,000s. But that number moves depending on what's selling, because this town contains everything from starter homes to seven-figure historic properties. Don't shop the median, shop the segment. Now, one of the main reasons families pick Summerville is the schools. Dorchester District Two is consistently one of the top-rated districts in South Carolina and is the single most common answer I hear when I ask families why they're looking here instead of closer to the city. If schools are your first filter, Summerville clears it. And daily life holds up. The restaurant scene downtown has gotten really good. There are events all year: the Flower Town Festival in the spring, Sculpture in the south, holiday markets, third Thursdays. It's a town where the calendar keeps people connected and where you run into people you know at the park and the grocery store. If you've watched my other videos, you know that's my favorite thing about living in this area. Okay, I promised you the one thing Summerville doesn't have. Here it is, the beach. From Summerville, you're looking at roughly 45 minutes to an hour to reach Folly Beach or Isle of Palms, depending on traffic. That is not a spontaneous Tuesday evening beach trip. That's a planned outing with a cooler and a departure time. For most of my Summerville buyers, that trade is easy. They'd rather have the bigger house, the better schools, and a beach day twice a month. But if you're moving to the low country for a beach lifestyle, if the whole point is sand under your feet every week, Summerville might be the wrong call. And I'd rather tell you that now than after a whole day of showings. That buyer most likely belongs in Mount Pleasant or James Island. I made a full video on Mount Pleasant last week. It's linked below. One more honest note. Summerville is one of the fastest growing towns in the metro, and the roads are catching up in real time. Main Street, 17A corridor get congested. It's nothing like big city traffic, but if you remember Summerville as a sleepy town from 10 years ago, it's a lot busier now. Let me do what I do in every buyer consultation and just tell you who this town fits. I send you to Summerville if schools are your top priority, your budget is under $600,000, and you want the most house you can buy in the area. You want new construction with amenities or a historic home with a porch, because here you can have either. If you're retiring and you want a true 55 plus community, or you're remote and want space without coastal prices. I recommend elsewhere if the beach is the reason you're moving here. That's going to be Mount Pleasant, James Island, Kiowa, or if you're commute downtown daily on a rigid schedule and hate highway driving. Instead, look at West Ashley or James Island first. Or if your Friday night needs to be a walk on King Street, then the Peninsula is where you'll want to be. And notice what's not on that second list: budget. Summerville almost never loses on price. It only loses on geography. If you're weighing Summerville against Mount Pleasant or anywhere else in the Charleston area, that's a conversation I have with buyers all the time. Budget, schools, commute, lifestyle. Hit the Calendly link in the description. Let's talk about it. Just 15 minutes, no pressure, and you'll leave with a clear answer for your situation. And don't forget to subscribe, because next week I'm putting Mount Pleasant and Summerville head to head. If you're torn between the two, this video will help settle it. The rest of the series, Mount Pleasant, cost of living, neighborhoods, flood zones, they're all linked in the description and on the end screen. I'm Justine Manuel, and I'll see you in the next one.